Greetings of day to all my dear students. I hope that you all are in good health. For today's video lecture, we shall start with a small and a short motivational story. The story's name is The Best Seed. There once was a farmer who grew the most excellent wheat. Every season he won the award for the best wheat in his country. A wise woman came to him to ask him about his success. He told her that the key was sharing his best seed with his neighbors so they could plant the seed as well. The wise woman asked, "How can you share your best wheat seed with your neighbors when they compete with you every year?" "That's simple," the farmer replied. "The wind spreads the pollen from everyone's wheat and carries it from field to field. It is my neighbors grew inferior wheat cross pollination would degrade everyone's wheat, including mine. If I am to grow the best wheat, I must help my neighbors to grow the best wheat as well." This is not only excellent advice for growing the best crops, but also great advice for how to live our life. If you want to live a meaningful and happy life, help others and find happiness. Remember, the value of your life is measured by the lives you touch with love, kindness, respect, and hope. So, my dear students, I hope that you all liked this short motivational story. Always remember to value your life and never judge and measure them by the materialistic things, but always measure with love, kindness, respect, and hope. So, now let us proceed ahead. This is Shreya Jadhav welcoming you all to my e-learning channel, and today we are going to start with English Grade 10 Poem 8 Fog, written by Carl Sandburg. So before going through the reading and explanation of the same, let us know something about the poet. Carl August Sandburg was born on January 6, 1878, died on July 22, 1967, was an American poet, biographer, journalist, and editor. He won the three Pulitzer Prizes, two of his poetry and one of his biography of Abraham Lincoln. During his lifetime, Sandburg was widely regarded a major figure in contemporary literature. At the time of the death in 1967, President Lyndon B. Johnson observed that Carl Sandburg was more than the voice of America, more than the poet of its strength and genius. He was America. Introduction for answer. Poem's name Fog. Poet's name Carl Sandburg. Genre free verse. Summary. The poem is of a 6 line and talks about the moment of the fog. It comes silently like the footstep. So now let us move ahead for the summary of the poem. The poem Fog, penned by the poet Carl Sandburg, is written in free verse. The small 6 line poem talks about the moment of the fog. It comes silently like the footsteps of a small cat. Then it covers the city and the harbor. The fog like a cat, what it pleases and obeys no rules. The fog remains still, covering both the places. It appears like a cat sitting on its haunches and showing its power, and then it moves away like a cat, which does not like to remain in one place for long. And then the fog disappears totally. So now let us go through the reading and explanation of the poem. Dear students, as you can see, this is really very short 6-line poetry. That is the fog. First, we'll read the poem, then we'll discuss about the meanings of it, and then we shall have the explanation for the same. The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches and then moves on. So over here the meaning of fog is mist. Harbor means seaport. On haunches means sitting with knees bent. So now we shall move ahead with the explanation of it. Fog. This poem reflects that the writer's interest is in nature. It beautifully captures the moment when the fog comes and moves. He presents a powerful image of life through a metaphorical cat. Its meaning is centered on the fog in the Chicago city. The poet compares the fog with the cat because the cat also comes with soft paws and without giving any sign of its arrival. The same is the case with fog, as it approaches exactly in the same way. The poet is saying that the fog, which is generally seen during the winter season, and it is coming towards the city and the harbor just like a cat. The next poet says that the fog has covered the city and harbor completely, and it appears as a cat is sitting by folding its legs and looking around. Poet also described the silent and the unpredictable departure of the fog. We can see that fog is the shortest poem written by the poet. But this poem has a strong reflection about the nature. This poem does a deeper and strong meaning. The first two lines of the poem are simply describing how the fog comes in. The fogs are basically visible in the cold areas or in mountains or forest. But in this poem, the poet describes fog which is happening in cities and harbors. He gave a wonderful comparison between the fog and cat. When a cat comes around, mostly it is coming so slowly that hardly anyone is getting a notice. The same is the case with fog and its arrival. It just comes in and engulfs the entire place. It stays on for some times, creating trouble for anyone in between it, but still stays as though it is not aware of happening around it. The poet says that it just comes, sits at the harbor, and looks at the city. But it is the silence that haunches and then finally moves on. Here, the poet described the happening once the fog has arrived. Fogs are such do not cause any harm because it is very silent and onset it is slow too. But when the fog is around, especially in the city, many accidents may occur due to low visibility. Thus, due to fog, people cannot see properly anything in between them while driving on the road. Hence, sometimes fog may be very harmful to humans too. Therefore, the fog comes in similar to a small and silent kitten, and it sits and watches the beauty while it covers the whole city. At last, the poet is saying that as a small child gets bored playing the same game, hence moves on to the next. Similarly, the fog does not stay in one place for a long time. Therefore, after some times, the fog also moves on. Fog does not stay longer at one place. This is a very small poem, and over here there is a beautiful description of nature's act in a very pleasant and beautiful manner. I hope that you all have understood the poetry. Now let us move ahead for the figures of speech. So over here we have first figure of speech, that is the fog comes. Now over here the figure of speech will become personification. Why? Because a human quality is given. The inanimate fog is given the human quality of coming. So that will become personification. The second one is on little cat feet. So the first figure of speech is metaphor. There is indirect comparison between the slow movement of the fog and cat. The next one is hyperbole. The movement of fog is compared to a little cat. Next one is over the harbor and city. So over here we have the figure of speech, that is antithesis. Antithesis means use of opposite words in one similar line. So over here the opposite words like harbor and city are used in same sentence for poetic effect. Harbor means we can say seaport, and city is in the middle of the town or place. So those two are opposite words and still they are written together. The next one is on silent haunches. So over here the first one is metaphor. So there is an indirect comparison between the position of the fog and a person on haunches. The next figure of speech is transferred epithet. So over here we have the adjective that is silent and has been shifted from the fog to the haunches. The next one is and then moves on. So over here we have personification, that is inanimate fog is given the human quality of moving on. So dear students, this is really very precise poetry and a really short one. So I hope that you all have understood it. So now let us start and let us discuss the question and answers which are given over here. Thinking about the poem. The first question is, what does Sandberg think of the fog is like? So over here the answer would be Sandberg thinks the fog moves like a cat. The next one is, how does the fog comes? The fog comes silently like the footsteps of a cat. The next one is, what does it in the third line refers to? It in the third line refers to the fog. The next one is, does the poet actually say that the fog is like a cat? Find three things that tells us that the fog is like a cat. So the answer would be something like this. The fog comes silently with the footsteps of a small cat. Then it covers the city and the harbor. The fog, like a cat, does what it pleases and obeys no rules. The fog remains still, covering both the places, and it appears like a cat sitting on its haunches and showing its power. Then it moves away like a cat, which doesn't like to remain in one place for long. Thus, the fog disappears totally. So, I hope that you all are clear with the textual poem based question answers. So, dear students, I wish that you all have understood the poem. This is a really short poetry but with a beautiful description. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. If you still find any doubt or queries, you can comment down in the comment section below. Thank you everyone and have a great day.